an intimate portrait.
The first thing Madeline really did professionally was upstairs at the Downstairs, which was a small club in Manhattan, and it was a review. And she did about 4 or 5 of those reviews with different performers. Lily Tomlin, I remember meeting Lily Tomlin.
I actually got my job at the Upstairs at the Downstairs through Madeline, because I would go to the Improv in those days, and I would do 10 or 15 minutes. And this one night, I got this note from a girl I didn't know, and it was signed Madeline Kahn, and she was working at the Upstairs. Fanny Flagg, who had been in the show there with Maddie, was leaving, and they needed a girl replacement, and Madeline told me to call the producer to get an audition.
Lily got the job and became a part of the reviews taking place at Upstairs at the Downstairs.
It was cabaret kind of, you know, parodies and very chic songs about New York life. Madeline, Dixie Carter, and I were in the same show called Below the Belt. She was so completely, innately comedic and so naturally funny, and yet had such restraint, such containment.
It was an exciting time, I think. There were political overtones to a lot of their work, and they were all in this together, kind of a 60s sensibility.
We still did characters who were very self-assured or thought well of themselves and just had their own inner kind of direction. I think it was kind of a turn from women doing maybe more informed, more intelligent comedy.
Madeline would meet another fresh young performer at the club.
She was in a review, and I went to see her, and she had this billowing blonde hair and this beautiful skin, and she wasn't exactly movie star gorgeous, but she was gorgeous. I was approached in 1967 about doing this Broadway show, New Faces of '68. And Madeline and I were both cast in it, and we each had the most to do. She did a piece called Das Chicago Song, and it was a takeoff on Kurt Weill, and it sort of predated her subsequent famous takeoffs on Marlene Dietrich in Blazing Saddles.
The new working relationship between Madeline and Robert would become a lifelong friendship, working relationship, and even a brief romance.
And there was a little romance, but there's been a lifelong romance with her work and with working with her.
And they're so different, and they work together so well. They complement each other. I think he was like a big brother to her in a lot of ways, as she looked up to him. And
Madeline's parents had been divorced, and she did not have contact with her father for a very long time, and I didn't know anyone in that situation. But her mother was so vivacious and eccentric and intimately involved with her vocal training.
Critics singled out Madeline and Robert as the talent to watch. They soon were both in demand on the talk show circuit.
It made her very nervous. She was not, even though she was a very funny person, she was not spontaneous that way. She liked, in order to appear funny, she liked preparation. She didn't like surprises. She was a true theater person that way. She was very serious about being funny.
The work that you do has to be pretty well crafted and grounded in real, just as serious work as you would do in a straight role, and you may not get credit for that. That may not be recognized or seen. You may, in fact, have to feel rage or pain or something like that in order to make the joke work.
She was one of the funniest performers, in contrast to her very, very sober, off-stage, off-camera demeanor, and she worked very hard at what she did.
Madeline and Robert would work together again in Robert's 1970 television show, Comedy Tonight.
We talked about doing sketches and me doing my stand-up, and I said, I want Madeline Kahn. We gave her anything musical, and again, she was the standout. She was the biggest among equals.
Soon, a part on Broadway opposite Danny Kaye would win Madeline her big break. She was brought to the attention of director Peter Bogdanovich, who was casting his film, What's Up, Doc?
she hadn't done a movie before, and she didn't read for the part. I just talked to her for about an hour, and I said, you know, she told me stories about working with Danny Kaye, and she kept making me laugh.
I was the perfect one to, for Ryan O'Neal to run from in order to get to Barbra Streisand. Me?
She was wonderful to work with because she had not a clue what we were doing. She'd let herself be put in the most outrageous situations with the wig and the whole thing, you know, and she didn't seem to have any vanity about it. She certainly let us do whatever we wanted and went along with it. When she saw it, however, she was not thrilled.
I went directly into therapy.
You did?
Yes, I did. I had a phone number and I just dialed it right the next morning. Oh, yeah.
Because you didn't like what you saw?
Well, there was such a discrepancy between what I saw and what I perceived myself to be that I thought I must be in very big trouble.
Peter Bogdanovich was so impressed with Madeline that he cast her as Trixie Delight in his next film, Paper Moon, which also starred Ryan O'Neal and his 10-year-old daughter, Tatum.
I think she felt very comfortable with him as a director, that he could bring out some of her best qualities as an actress.
My direction of her was usually in nuances, because whatever she did was, you know, usually right on the money.
What she brought to Paper Moon was a funny comic character, yet a tragic character, a flawed character. And she was able, in the short amount of time that she was on screen, to bring both of those qualities, the tragedy and the comedy, to that part.
The film was such a success that Oscar nominations went to both Madeline and Tatum.
We felt that she had truly arrived. I remember my mother calling me up and saying over and over again, Madeline's a star. Madeline is a star now.
The Oscar went to Tatum O'Neal.
Tatum O'Neal gave a remarkable performance, and Madeline always thought that. The work was really what was important to her and what fulfilled her, not the public acclaim or the rewards.
The year that Paper Moon was released, Madeline returned to Broadway, where she received a Tony nomination for her performance in David Rabe's Boom Boom Room. At the same time, her talents were being sought out by Hollywood heavyweights.
Lucille Ball wanted her to be in Mame because she had seen her in this kind of drab, dumpy role. And when Madeline showed up on Mame, she was this bombshell. And Lucille Ball was not about to have some other good-looking redhead on the set and had her fired. But that turned out to be a good thing because she did Blazing Saddles instead.
Next, Madeline becomes a star and Mel Brooks' leading lady.
On Lifetime, television for women.